Where Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, is giving his views to the Yusuf Haji-led committee, BBI.
That will, either directly or through the democratically elected representatives, and to actuate that realization of democratic election of the representation of the people, the Constitution further provides that Kenya shall be a multi-party democratic state. The underlying constitutional principle is that the people's democratic power to elect their representatives should be through political parties, ideally, primarily, and that the exercise of the right to form or join a political party should be in tandem with the doctrine of political pluralism initiated in the Constitution. And of course, we have witnessed that since the repeal of Section 2A in 1991. And unfortunately, as we all know, that repeal, which ushered a multi-party era in Kenya, saw the expansion of the political space. But some of the benefits have not been realized in the manner that one would have expected them to be, because instead we have seen bitterly contested electoral exercises. And there has been also unmeasured political competition, which continues to threaten the peaceful coexistence of the Republic, and indeed its entire fabric. Ultimately, political competition in Kenya has been more about individuals, in my view. And like I said, Mr. Chairman, these are my views. They are not the views of the National Assembly. I'm saying ultimately political competition in Kenya has been more about individuals wearing political party T-shirts than it has been about political parties. As a result, there are almost new political parties or political coalitions every election. Further, the expansion of the doctrine of political pluralism to provide for individuals to seek political power outside political parties by running as independent candidates has also been provided for. This, of course, as a measure of eroding the political party discipline, so that which is essential in stabilizing the governance of the people. My proposals related to general elections are as follows. The first remedy should be to entrench political competition at the ballot to be amongst political parties as opposed to a competition amongst individuals wearing political party T-shirts. When voters enter a polling booth at the village level, they should view their aspirations through political parties rather than through individuals in political parties. They should serve to institutionalize political competition, simplify the administration of elections, and reduce political disputes, including disputes that we know end up in litigation in courts. Secondly, there should be a performance-based limitation to the number of political parties. For example, it is possible to determine and entrench in the Constitution a threshold to qualify political parties to continue to exist after a general election. In this regard, I propose that a political party that fails to win any seat in the National Assembly at a general election, a preceding general election, should be struck off the register of political parties. And additionally, stricter provisions should apply in the registration of new political parties. In order to strengthen the provisions relating to the regulation of political parties, I propose that the office of the Registrar of Political Parties be entrenched in the Constitution as an independent office. Thirdly, there should be provisions for stricter political discipline to insulate political parties from the indiscipline of politicians. Presently, political parties are inclined to rely on an individual's capacity to survive rather than individuals relying on strong political parties to win political power. As a result, individuals form and will, and individuals form and kill political parties at will, or even hop from one party to another at will. I'm sure many of you here would know that there is a good friend of mine who has won 6 elections since 1992 on 6 different political parties. I need not to mention the name. But also importantly, to observe that since 2002, both Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta won second terms on different political parties. Fourthly, and more radically, we need to have a serious conversation on the necessity to abolish constituency boundaries to help cure the strife and unrest that characterizes general elections in this country. The National Assembly should represent the people of Kenya on the basis of a national formula that has a nearly as possible same number of representatives. On presidential elections, I want to propose, in order to build a bridge that allows us to transcend the pitfalls of heavily contested presidential elections, I propose that instead, the popular will to propose the removal of elections of president by universal suffrage, and replace therewith that the popular will of the people be manifested through one man, one vote, and actuated through the nomination of president by the party that garners the majority votes at the general election. And that should apply mutatis mutandis to the deputy. Voters at the general election should vote for a party that best captures their aspirations. This would help entrench a new dispensation of politics of ideas rather than the politics of ethnic mobilization and clan inclinations. As with every contest, there must be constitutional acknowledgement that a presidential election should breed a winner and a loser. Any negation of a winner-loser arrangement is a short change to the people who took time to choose between competing political parties. Accordingly, the party that garners the second highest number of votes in a preceding general election should become the official opposition party, and its leader of that party should assume the role of the leader of official opposition in the National Assembly with all the attendant services necessary to give effect to that office. Nothing should prevent the winning political party, in the event it so desires, from even forming a coalition, even with the second largest party. With regard to Parliament, the Constitution should define with clarity the interrelationship between the Houses of Parliament in order to provide for the proper execution of legislative and oversight roles. And observe that although there is a popular misconception in the country, when you mention Parliament, you mean National Assembly, we are all alive to the fact that the Constitution defines in Article 93 that Parliament, there shall be a Parliament of Kenya consisting of the National Assembly and the Senate. And therefore, members serving in the Senate are members of Parliament. The National Assembly and the Senate have treated the country to endless supremacy battles that have often undermined devolution and the smooth governance of the country. Critical legislation such as the Division of Revenue Bill has never yielded concurrence between the two houses without a fight, while other legislations have also fallen at the altar of that battle of supremacy between the two houses. The proposal in the BBI task force report that the relationship between the Senate and the National Assembly be redefined to make the Senate the upper house is welcome to me. However, this relationship of superiority should be manifested through clear-cut roles rather than through prefecture. On the other hand, the Senate has consistently taken advantage of Article 125 of the Constitution to endlessly summon officers of the national government to respond to issues that have nothing to do with county governments. Needless to say, the Senate has had no recourse where its recommendations on matters of national government are ignored by the said state officers, since it has no instruments of punishment in the sense of oversight authority. Accordingly, I propose that this power of Parliament to summon persons to appear in plenary or in committee under Article 125 of the Constitution be strictly limited to the respective mandates of each House. The Senate, which we know under Article 96 represents the counties and serves to protect the interests of county governments, should exclusively consider bills concerning the functions of county governments as outlined under Part 2 of the 4th schedule to the Constitution. Mr. Chairman, I want to pause here to inform the task force that currently, under the current arrangement, Senate cannot pass any law, even laws dealing with county governments, of which they represent and serve to protect their interests without the involvement of the National Assembly. Therefore, my proposal is, since the Senate represents the counties and serves to protect the interests of county governments, any bills, any laws relating to the counties and county governments as defined in Article 110 should be exclusively passed by the Senate without recourse to the National Assembly. Once passed,
Speaker of the